Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video featuring more vulnerable king patterns. I think some people ask about what app I use here. I just use chess.com. You could try that. There are probably many other apps you can use to solve puzzles and tactics and work on pattern recognition. Just Google some apps and pattern recognition, puzzle solving, tactics apps, and I'm sure you could find many different choices out there. Some people use Lichess as well. So back to vulnerable king patterns. I did one of these recently, and I had the rating set from 500 to 1500, so I bumped it up a little bit to 2000. And let me know if that's too difficult or too easy. I always enjoy hearing comments from viewers and subscribers. So I'll try and do at least 10. Pause the video at any time if you need to. We just had a queen here moving up to h5. So we are looking for vulnerable king patterns. How can we try and take advantage of Black's king here with the white pieces? We do have a bishop lined up here cutting off the king's escape. Now if we could find a way to take advantage, well, you always want to look for checks first, then captures, then threats. So, do we have any checks? Is there any way to check that king up here? It looks safe. I don't see any checking moves. So, any captures? And with that, you want to look for any unprotected pieces, and then unprotected pawns. This rook is unprotected over here, but I don't see a way to get to that. So, now we have to look for threats. This one looks kind of dangerous. All right. The bishop, as I said, is cutting off the king's escape to here. So bishop is cutting off the king. If we could put a knight here, checking the king and cutting that escape square off, would that be enough to win? The problem is, how do we get a knight there? We would have to move this knight, with the threat of jumping in here. That would also have the threat of a fork, but they could capture our queen. So if you can't immediately check your opponent, or have a very strong immediate threat, and you're trying to set up a tactic, you have to make sure that your opponent doesn't have some strong response. So if we go here with our knight and they take our queen, and they're threatening this right here, well, we can continue with our plan, checking the king. So that's good, because checks are the most forcing moves. The king will have to move, and the king can only go to here. So that gives us time to recapture with check. The king will have to move again to here, and then that gives us time to pick off the queen. But is that enough? Because they'll take our knight, but we'll get a rook in the bargain. And then we have these extra pieces, a knight and a bishop. All right, so that looks to be the way to go. Now try to figure that out in your head. And I also recommend when you're solving tactics, go through them nice and slow. Pick maybe the 10 I'm doing here, do them nice and slow. then go through them again faster and try and go through them about 7 times faster and faster each time. So by the 7th time you go through, you should be going through each problem in 15 seconds or less, and they'll be burned into your long-term memory. So here we go. They captured, but we can check, then recapture, and then pick off the queen here. And that was a 1987 rated problem, so hopefully you were able to figure that one out. On to the next one here. Queen was what? Under attack by that pawn? Oh no, pawn's going this way. So, all right, it looks like an offer to exchange queens here. But do we want to do that? All right. Well, we're looking for a vulnerable king. So, what determines if a king's vulnerable? Can it be attacked? Is it kind of open? Is its defense, the defense around the king, lacking? So, what can we do? Look for checks first. So we could check here, lining up on the king. But there is the option to block with the... Nope, that's not even an option, to block with the pawn, because then we'll just pick off their queen, which this pawn is defending. So we could check. Now we want to look for a follow-up. Does that accomplish anything? Well, the king can't go here because of the pawn. The bishop would be attacking, so the king would be forced to go here or here. Oh, okay. So we take advantage of the vulnerable king, and it might help us promote our pawn. So see if you can figure that out on your own. Pause the video if you need more time. But if not, we're going to go here, checking the king. Okay, the king will be forced to move. The king will probably want to go here because we have a threat. If we exchange queens and then put our bishop here, it would help promote that pawn. All right, well, what's another option? Okay, we attack with the bishop. The king will move here to keep an eye on this passed pawn, so we can't trade queens and then put our bishop here to guard the queening square. So once the king goes here to f2, we're going to check with our queen. So that's pretty dangerous. And that does what? Forces the king to run, and I think that'll be enough to win. So here we go. Check. Capture with check. Okay, now we can just keep attacking the queen by going here. So now what? If the king runs up here, then we can check again and then pick off the rook. Oh, the king can't even go there because of our bishop. So our bishop cuts that off. Yeah, and that would be mate right there. Because the pawn helps cut everything off too, or cut off that square. All right, I hope you figured that one out. On to the next one. We just have an attack on our queen here. What can white do to take advantage of a vulnerable king? Well, we have a knight that's guarding squares around the king. We have a diagonal here towards the king. there is a threat of capturing this pawn, forking our knight and our king, so that could be dangerous. So maybe we need to look for checking possibilities. So checks first. All right. We can go here, delivering a check. And then what do we do after that? King will run to the diagonal here or here, probably here on G7. And then what? Now the whole time our queen is under attack, so do we bring our queen here? Trade of queens. Then we check. King would move forward to here. And then we bring our knight up. Bishop could capture. Oh, and we're attacking this the whole time. So we have to take that into account. So maybe check, capture. And then we could just pick off the rook. And we'd be ahead in material. They'd have the bishop pair. But we're ahead with all those extra pawns. So I don't know. I'm thinking we just trade queens off. We force a queen trade. So here, queen is forced to trade. Bishop captures with check and then picks the rook off. All right. Yeah, and then now the king will have to move and we can just pick off the rook. All right. On to the next problem. Bishop tries to get an open diagonal here, aiming down here towards our knight. What can white do? Well, all right. What advantages does white have here? Well, we have an open H-file. We have an open diagonal for the queen. The king could escape here. So hopefully those clues will help you figure it out. Maybe we have to go here. Cutting off the escape square and guarding that one as well. And then we could have a threat. Well, if we do that, our opponent could try and block our attack. But then we could go here, chasing that bishop. Okay, maybe we try something first that's more threatening. Let me turn a light on. It's starting to get dark. Okay. Checks first. I have to follow that rule. So let's look at checking moves first. Maybe we can go here. But if we do that, our king could run there. Our queen could then go here. Pawn would block. Then our queen could attack again. I don't know. That's kind of tricky. So multiple options here. If we look at checks first, we would bring a rook up here, checking the king. The king could just run. we could bring a queen up here delivering a check, forcing this pawn forward. But then our rook could check again here. Then if the king moves, then we capture. So I think that works. All right, so one more time. Double check here, or triple check. Check. If the king takes, well then we just go up here with check with our queen. The king would have to move back to where it began. And then we could push this pawn, preventing the king from escaping. And then threatening a mate. So I think that would work. So here we go. All right. Queen. Now we push this. And, you know, he's covering that, but we can just pick that off. Then we go here and deliver the mate on the back rank. All right, hopefully you figured that one out. That was a little tough. On to the next one. And let me know if these are, too difficult. If we're looking for patterns, maybe I should make these a little bit easier, because if they get too difficult, then it's more of calculation instead of pattern recognition. But, both are good for your chess. All right. We have a pin of this knight to the rook. Although the knight could just drop back here, defend, and also target this one. But, that doesn't work because the pawn would just pick that knight off. All right. We're looking for vulnerable king patterns. So that means looking for ways to target your opponent's king. Checks first. So the rook is cutting off these two escape squares. The knight is cutting that one off and that one off. So all we have to do is bring in the other rook. So try and calculate that. But hopefully you found this move. We're checking the king. The knight will have to block, but then the rook can capture here and deliver a mate. So check and mate here. All right, so that one was a little bit easier. Hopefully you were all right with that one. All right, what is this? Knight was under attack and it moves forward here. Oh, because there is a possible threat. Maybe if you capture here, they capture. I don't know. I think that still works. If we capture, they capture. We go here with our queen and recapture the pawn. Now they could move a rook down here and attack our queen, but we could just, I don't know, go here, targeting their queen maybe. They could block with a pawn, we capture, they capture, driving our queen back. But then we could go here and attack their king. All right. There is the possibility of them attacking our king. Maybe our king is the vulnerable king. If they go there, our queen could block their queen right here. So the question is, can we just go ahead and take that knight? If we do that, capture, they capture, then our queen can capture. I don't know, it looks like it works. If they try and come down this way, targeting our king, then we can block. Oh, they have a bishop, a possible bishop attack as well. Wow. All right. I don't know. Can we survive? If we capture, they capture, our queen recaptures, bishop checks us, we can block if they take and our rook retakes. Now the queen could attack. I don't know. I think we can survive, but I don't know. It's usually not best to go on I think we can, but that's what I'm going to try. I'm just going to take the knight. Okay, so here, that is the issue. Oh, and our queen can't move because of that threat. So, oh, we probably should just push our pawn. Huh. Do we push our pawn here to prevent the opening of the H-file? Problem is going to be this. So, huh. All right, I'm thinking we push that. If they check us, what do we do? We have to go here. All right, so now we have to block. Or do we run? If we run here, queen could possibly check us. If we run up here, the queen can capture this and check us again. That's not looking too good. So the other option is to go here. If bishop captures, or queen could just capture here immediately. All right. Well, I guess it does keep us ahead in material, but that one was kind of tricky, rated 1947. So on to the next one. Let's keep this moving along. Rook was under attack by the knight and drops back. So what can we do? We're looking for this, an attack on a vulnerable king. Is there a way to take advantage here? Well, we're limited on pieces. We have rook, knight, and bishop. Are there any checks? No good ones, I don't think. Oh, maybe. So that, yep, that's another reason to look for checks first, or otherwise you might miss that move. So there's a check. If the king captures, well then you can go here, picking off the bishop, forking the king, and the rook, and you'll be able to grab that rook there. So if we go there, the king is kind of forced to take. The other option is to run here, but then, we grab that bishop. So there we go. And we're ahead with an extra bishop here. All right, 3 more problems to go. We just had an exchange of pawns in the center there. There's a fork on our knight and a bishop. We can just grab that pawn, but then there is a possible fork here and here. We can go back and guard. Okay, a lot of arrows, so let me get rid of those before they pile up into a crazy plate of spaghetti. Okay, vulnerable king. Okay, this is a reason to look at the entire board. We're all focused on the middle here, and we would have overlooked the win. So how do you win this game? Hopefully you found by looking at checks first. The way forward here would be a mate in 1. So we're just going to go right here, delivering checkmate in 1. So hope you found that one. 2 more to go. Bishop queen battery is created here, maybe with the idea of targeting our queen perhaps, or just to develop, give the option of castling to the queen side maybe. All right, does our opponent have a vulnerable king? That is the question. Is there a vulnerable king? Well, you want to look for checks first, and I don't see any way to get to this king. If their knight wasn't there, a check over here doesn't do too much. Maybe we can activate our knight. If we go here, we're forking bishop and queen. Now the queen could step over here delivering a check, but we could go here maybe, attacking, and that bishop would still be under attack. So that is an option. I don't know, I kind of like that option. Now if we go there with our knight, the queen could just drop back and protect the bishop. And then how do we move forward? Oh, then we can capture. Queen would capture, and then we push this pawn, forking the queen and the knight possibly. But then there could be a queenside castling move lining up on our own queen. So once we capture, but then they would capture with a rook, and we'd be able to go ahead with that rook. All right, that's what we're going to do. Attack. Okay. That's kind of like our previous option. So we'll just go there. Fork. Capture. All right, our king is stuck in the middle, but the queens are off the board. We're ahead in material. If they go after this pawn, they could break their pawns up, but maybe he would castle or bring the rook here and then go after it maybe. But at that point, we could defend it, maybe. Anyway, let's move on to the final problem here. So we had a rook moving up here to the second rank. We are looking for a way to exploit the vulnerable king here. We have a queen hovering around, so that can be dangerous, but that's not enough. So maybe we could push the pawn here. The only thing we have to be careful of, if we do that, and our opponent, because it's not a checking move, it's not forcing, he could go here, threaten a mate. How do we handle that? We could push this pawn and block it. Then once he maybe takes with the pawn, we capture. I think we get our attack in first. So if we go here, maybe they try and drop their queen back, threatening a mate. Then we are forced to either... I don't think I want to push this and try and run, because no, that would be a mate anyway. So we have to push this pawn up. And then they'll have to deal with that, capture. We can ignore that, capture here, checking the king. If the king runs, we just push the pawn and promote. If the rook captures, attacking our queen, that gives us time to check and continue our attack. So here we go. And instead they just do that. So now our rook will just go ahead and capture, threaten to attack on the back rank. So, okay, that allows the escape. So if we go here, the king can escape there. All right. Do we have any checks? Probably that rook, moving the rook up is best. And we'll have the option to bring the other rook in. So, the king, okay, if we check, the king is going to go here. And usually you want to calculate all this in your head before I should have maybe looked deeper. And maybe I'll have to pick some problems that are a little bit easier because this is turning more into calculation instead of recognizing a bunch of patterns. But at least at the end, you'll see patterns that you may be able to recognize. All right. Well, do we just drop our rook back and aim this way? All right. Or do we bring our queen up here? Maybe that's an idea. And then we just threaten a mate here. But then they could drop their queen back to cover that. So if we go here, if they capture, we capture. With check, the king starts running. We can start attacking and maybe have time to bring our other rook into the open file. So, I don't know, maybe that, they don't like that. So, maybe they want that. They don't like that either. Am I missing something? Do we sacrifice our queen by going here? King takes, rook takes, king can run, can bring our other rook in. But if the king runs here, I don't see how we continue that. All right, am I missing something here? Maybe they wanted that. Okay, that's the move they wanted. But now we can just pick that off. You know, I thought maybe they would have dropped their queen back to help cover that. Huh. Yeah, now we just pick that off, I guess. All right, well, yeah, maybe I'll drop the difficulty down a little bit because that came down to more calculation than patterns. But I mean, you're still going to see patterns that you have to recognize. All right. Well, feel free to leave any comments. Like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.